In today's video, we are going to try to pull ourselves out of vacation mode and accomplish a few things. He's smiling at me like, yeah, right. So my Evan is on the couch watching a show, having fun. I just found the last coveted mineral water and...
You got that for me?
So today's been one of those days. It's the last day that he's officially off work, and then we have the weekend. So he has taken off from, that was my wreath. Can you go get it? It just fell down. That's an indicator that it's time to take Christmas down, right? When it's literally falling off the walls. So he's been off since Christmas Eve and doesn't go back until Monday. So it has been the most beautiful time of just being with family, not having routine. Evan started back at therapy this morning. His speech therapist came. But other than that, we really haven't had doctor's appointments, or we homeschool, had school to do. So it has been so lovely. We live in Central Texas. The weather has been weirdly warm, which has been irritating at times. Like at Christmas Eve, I wanted to wear my cute cashmere sweater and had to wear a tank top. But in other areas, it's been nice because we've done some yard work, been outside. But today, this evening, I should say, it's dinner time, I'm going to try to do a couple of things to just get out of vacation mode and look towards the weekend, what we need to accomplish, so that Monday we are jumping right back into work and school and real life. So we had a lot of people here for New Year's Eve. I think about 30 plus people. It was so fun. I still have balloons on the on the walls, little decorations to take down. I've been doing just enough dishes to get by. So yeah, we're going to eat while dinner is cooking. I'm going to clean up the kitchen. Moving into the new year, we just had our what are our financial goals for 2026. And so I'm going to really do a better job of staying on budget for our groceries, which we all know right now groceries and household items are just ridiculously expensive. So go ahead and follow me here on YouTube. We would love to have you join our YouTube family. We have a lot of fun things planned and things that we just want to take you along with. So we would love it if you would go ahead and subscribe to our channel. But also, I just made a video that I'm going to post on TikTok today, and it was kind of a last minute idea. So because of said grocery budget and some things that we have unexpected this month already happened, even though it's the very beginning of the month, we are going to eat down our pantries and freezers. So I plan to just kind of get more creative with our meals and use what we have. So if you want to follow me over on TikTok, it's Oso Farm, and I will also put that down. It's always in the description box. But I'm going to do an evening video showing what things we are eating and how I'm using what we have to kind of piece meals together. So tonight I had a bag of ravioli that was frozen. My husband hates when we have meatless meals, but he will survive it. A bag of cheese, frozen ravioli. He had shredded some mozzarella cheese. He had got a, God bless you, some stuff to make pizza for Christmas. So he made some homemade pizza at lunchtime. So we had some leftover cheese. So I used that up. And then in the pantry, I got this at Thrive Market months ago, and we just never have used it. It's this Rayo's homemade sun-dried tomato pesto, and it actually expires in like a month. So it's good to check those dates and use that stuff up. So I actually used 2 of those small jars. It's just Brian and Esme and Evan and I here tonight for dinner. Actually, Lizzie's here, so there's 5 of us. And then I have a little bit of salad stuff left over from like post-Christmas week. And I made some rolls on New Year's Eve that did not get eaten. So I will retoast those up, add some fresh butter, and that will be dinner. I made this New Year's Eve. This is the last of our cast iron. This is Pioneer Woman's Monster Cookie recipe. It has M&Ms and Rice Krispies, peanut butter chips, chocolate chips. So that will be our dessert. It'll end up being a really good meal. I need to go out into the pantry and freezer and actually meal plan with what we have for the week, because tomorrow I do need to get to the grocery store. We're out of milk. I make homemade yogurt every week for my Evan and us, and I'll need to get fresh strawberries, and if mainly just things that Evan eats, because all the extra produce and stuff the other ones of us will eat. If y'all are new here, my youngest son Evan has Down syndrome. So what can be typical with people with Down syndrome when they're younger is they can have a lot of food aversions, which is what we experience. His favorite fruits are fresh strawberries and blueberries. Those are kind of his main, and then he loves applesauce pouches and things like that. I have the pouches, we're gonna use those up. So having a meal plan definitely helps with saving money in the long run. So I'm going to, while this is cooking, get the dishes loaded, counters cleaned off, and then I will show you the Thrive Market order before we sit down and eat dinner. And before I start these dishes, if you have not seen this dog of mine, all of my family gets so annoyed at me because I love all my dogs, but this little guy and I have such a connection, and he is the cutest thing. His name is Elvis. Elvis.
Calling you jealous.
Dinner was really good. Brian even said he enjoyed the meatless.
I did. It was a good meat. I even thought it was meat.
No. So I came out here to feed the animals before it got dark, and there was no chicken food, so he carried it down here for me. Let me show you how sweet everyone looks out here. You just gave him 2 scoops?
I gave him 3.
3.
He's feeling generous.
It's chow time. Oh goodness. I did. There were no duck eggs tonight.
There was a duck egg earlier.
This morning? How many eggs did you get this morning?
How many what?
Eggs total did you get this morning?
Just 1 duck egg.
Okay. All right, guys, good night. Okay, so dinner was actually really good, super easy. It feels so good to use things up. Here comes Coley. I don't know how he just knows the difference from when I'm videoing or on the phone, because when I get on the phone and stuff, he does not come over here. So, Coleman, go lay down, sweetheart. Go lay down. Go. So we had dinner and we cleaned up the kitchen. Brian was changing out our internet with a company, so they were here. It was supposed to be an 1.5-hour window, and I think he was here almost 4 hours. So that was kind of a lot because he was on the roof or in the attic making a bunch of noise. Inside here, our Loretta got spayed today, so I didn't bring her home until almost 4. And she's still kind of a puppy, so she's making my heart sad. She's just resting. We have the cone on her, which of course she is just thinking is terrible. So we've had a kind of a low-key night. The weather is still unseasonably warm. When I was feeding the animals, I was a little bit disappointed that I didn't spend, lay down, Juno, more time outside today. But yeah, it was just a good last day of vacation, and then we still have the weekend. So I worked on my calendar, and wrote out all of our appointments through February. So that feels good to kind of know where we are and what's coming. Evan is having surgery in a few weeks. When we had his hearing test, he now has pretty significant hearing loss, and so they're hopeful that adding 2 fresh ear tubes will help. And then they're going to do kind of an exploratory airway just look at his airway to determine if anything might be able to help. His sleep apnea has come back, so we have that on the calendar. So I want to do like a formal video on New Year's and not really resolutions, but more, hopes and dreams, things in different categories of life, like, things Brian and I want to do together, things that we want to add to Oso Farm, like in terms of animals or projects, garden things, books I want to read, things like that. But I've been always a little just embarrassed to share this. Everybody has their own struggles and their own unique personal challenges. So without going into just so much detail, we traveled a lot growing up, or I would think is a lot, like compared to what, my kids experienced. We flew a lot. I went to Paris in college. I studied there for a few weeks. I have my degree in fashion marketing, and that was like part of one of the classes. So, I'd been to Europe. We'd been all throughout the Caribbean, Mexico. So I was really accustomed to traveling, never had an issue. On our honeymoon, we went to Jamaica, and Brian had not... I think he'd flown one time prior to our honeymoon. Now remember, we got married when we were 20. We were very young. And on the way home, I had my very first panic attack ever, like an actual physical response to how I was feeling. And I've never since then, even with all of the like traumatic things that we've experienced, I've never had a panic attack since then. But it was, this is going on 27 years ago. So the details of that moment are sketchy, but I don't know what caused it, but I was in an airplane. So in my mind, I paired the feeling of anxiety with where I was being on an airplane. So being on the airplane when it happened, I feel like created an intense fear of flying that I had never had before. So all that to say, we landed in Atlanta, and at the time we lived in Houston, Texas. And so I kind of threw a fit, and my poor sweet 20-year-old husband, he may have been 21 at the time. We were just very young and newly married, remember? I told him I'm not getting on the airplane on the connecting flight. And he proceeded to encourage me that I absolutely was. And I did. But that experience was really, really hard. And he was compassionate and sweet. Like, I don't want that to sound like he was not those things. It was just matter of fact. Like, Brandy, we have to get on our connecting flight. We have to go home. So we have been married it will be 27 years in April, this coming up April. So 26 plus years. And I'm here to tell you, friends, that I have not been on a plane since. So it has been almost 30 years since I've been on an airplane. And for a long time, like we literally got pregnant right away and started having a lot of kids. We were adopting kids. And by the time we hit 5 kids, which was early on in our marriage, we were not going to be flying anywhere with that many young kids. And then once we adopted Ezra, when he was alive, it was hard to even do a road trip with him. Like even, going to church was a big deal with his suction machine, and he slept on a ventilator. So I think for a long time, just our lifestyle prevented me from ever even having to face my fear, if that made sense. Like we wouldn't have been flying anywhere anyways. So Ezra passed away 4 years ago. And since then, there have been times that we've had opportunities to travel, and I have not gone. Little things like Brian has a business trip once a year to California, and I've never really been formally invited, but I knew that I could go if I wanted to, things like that. So all that to say, my daughters have always expressed, my older daughters that have traveled, have always expressed compassionately, mind you, Mom, there are things that I want to see with you. There's things that I want to do. And I'd always kind of jokingly told the kids, the only thing that would get me on an airplane is if we were adopting a child that required travel. Like I would do that, of course. But, we're not adopting kids anymore. So that ship has sailed. So my daughter, Emma, is turning 25 this February. And they FaceTimed me, my Emma and Evelyn, and said, Mom, we would like to go to New York City for Emma's 25th birthday. We want it to be an all-girls trip. And I know that just not even thinking about it, like if I would have just responded and said no without thinking about it, praying about it, it would have been sin to me. Like it would have been like my inability to even ask the Lord to help me in this would have been wrong, because, God is bigger, way bigger than my fear. And so while we were on the phone, I started crying a lot, and I said, of course I'm going to go. Of course I'm going to do it. And then they screamed and cried, and I instantly got like tightness in my chest, tummy pains, the fullness. So I'm sharing this with y'all cautiously because when I say it out loud, it sounds so silly, but it's very real to me. And I think because it's been so long, it's become something bigger than it probably actually is. So I'm meeting with my doctor on the 16th of January, and we're going to talk through some options. Like, is there, a medication that I can take for anxiety just when in that moment, if I need like a rescue med, or would it be better for me to just have a margarita before I get on, and just talk through if I have any options. I've never taken any medication like that before, so I would want to try to take it one evening when we're at home and just see how it made me feel, because my sister was telling me that for her, like those medications feel like that feeling of not being drugged, but like having medication in your system. She hated that feeling, and that spurred on anxiety. So I was like, that is the last thing I need, is to feel anxious already, take medication, and not like the way that it makes me feel. So I'm sharing this with y'all because I just don't know if it would be an encouragement to anybody. We all have faced different things, but I want victory in this. Like I know that God has my life in his hands. no matter what happens on the airplane, right? Like that God, no matter what would happen, God is on his throne. He's in control, and I can trust him no matter the outcome of the plane ride. And I also want to teach my girls that anxiety is a feeling, it's a real feeling, but that you can not let it control you. And that I've done that for many, many years and just made choices not to, face my fear. So I'm really excited because I know on the other side of this, like what I do is I think about, like I've been watching these videos on how to overcome your fear of flying, and one suggestion was like, what is one thing that you can imagine about your trip or where you're going? Like, can you picture that in your mind and like focus on that, like when you're feeling fearful? And so I think about when the plane lands, seeing the skyline of New York City and realizing that I actually did it. I think the biggest steps for me are going to be physically crossing the threshold and getting on the plane. Like that in my mind causes a lot of anxiety. Sitting down, like feeling trapped, like I've made a decision now I can't get out. So I'm not in the moment of the airplane going to draw, it's not my personality. Like I'm not going to draw any attention to myself. I've encouraged my girls, like, this is not going to be a thing. Like nobody's going to be pulling out their camera to video the crazy, anxious woman. Like I'm just going to be quiet. I'm going to have my praise music going. I'm going to pray myself there. But I just picture what that's going to feel like to conquer that and take steps to not just pretend that I've dealt with this thing for so long. So one thing in 2026 that I'm looking forward to is not having, like Brian, nobody can say my wife hasn't flown in almost 30 years because I will have just flown. So just being free of that burden. And y'all, I think just the 3 days with my girls, it'll be all 4 of my girls, Emma, Evelyn, Elizabeth, and Esme. And Esme turns 18, like a month after our trip. So they're basically all adults, and just, no kids are, like Emma's a mom, no kids are coming. It is just going to be girl time. And it's going to be a core memory for all of us. I had a sweet friend. Ooh, this vlog's turning into something, y'all. I had a sweet friend pass away on the 30th of December. Pretty unexpectedly, she became ill in November and already passed away from cancer. And though I had not spoken to her in many years, actually, why she was special to me was when I had 5 kids, and kids that we had adopted through foster care. So we had a lot of behavior issues. I was pretty overwhelmed at times. And she didn't have a large family, but she had a couple kids and invited us into her home regularly. And that was one isolating part of having 5 small children, is people just didn't really include us often. People loved us, but we weren't the first people that people were like, let's have them over to our house, because we had all these tiny kids. So I always felt so loved by her. And it wasn't just that she would invite us over for dinner. Like, she would make it so special. Like, she would get special plates for the kids, have like buy a craft for them to do. Everything was so thoughtful. So we would always leave there and I would feel so seen. So, I decided to go on this trip before my friend passed away, but that was just on the 30th. The last few days, it's just been a reminder, like, you really never know when God's going to call you home or call a loved one home. And there's that saying, live like you were dying, just meaning like go all in. So I want my girls to know like they matter way more to me than my fear and that God is bigger. So y'all can celebrate with me. If you're not a follower, hit that subscribe button and follow along this journey with me, because as the weeks get closer, I'm going to have the mixed feelings of pure excitement and total horror, scared, being afraid. It's going to be all the things. So it's all good. I am proud of myself. I think I don't really get negative comments on here often. I've had a few recently that have hit me kind of weird and they weren't even terrible. It was more like, when you put yourself out there, sometimes things just make you think about things differently. So I was a little nervous to share this, but Revelation 12:11 says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So I need to tell people how good God is in my life. You need to tell people how good God is in your life. And so I think this is, for me, is a tangible way that I can give God glory in this, because he is able to get me through this, to walk through this with me. So I'm excited. It's not till next month, like the end of, it's not for, I have a few weeks. I have like a little over 3 weeks to be praying myself through this. But wow, I didn't plan to share all that in this vlog, but it was kind of loud out in the living room. I'm like, let's go chat about something in there. Brian is reading Chronicles of Narnia to Evan every night. And they just finished our Advent reading, which was Jotham's Journey, and each chapter took a while. And I love that Evan developmentally is at a point that he really enjoys being read to in this sense. Like, we've read picture books to him for years and he still loves that, and we do a lot of that, but he can sit and listen to a novel, like a chapter book, and really enjoy that. And so I think it's so precious. They have their like 30 minutes of reading, and sometimes Evan includes me. Evan and I are buddies all day long, but then like tonight, he wanted it to just be him and Daddy. So it's so precious. So that's what they're doing. We are still so deep into Little House on the Prairie, y'all. We are loving it. Almanzo and Laura have been married for a while, and the dynamic is just so fun. So I actually hope it gets over soon, because it's taking up a lot of our time. We watch one episode every evening. So if we need to choose to read on some nights and, save that for special times. But thanks for hanging out with me. Can y'all do me the biggest favor too? If y'all watch a lot of YouTubers, I know a lot of people that I watch have shared, like, everybody across the board has had a lot of views,
have had their views tank. I, for the last maybe 6 months, have had almost no subscribers to mention. Like, I'll gain 10, lose 8, gain, like I feel like every time I post a video, I lose subscribers. So I've really been praying through this the last few months. And I do really feel like the Lord is just continuing to say yes, like this is what you should do. And so I'm just trying to not at all be concerned with subscriber count or, that kind of stuff, views, and just keep doing what I feel called to do. And, the outcome, trust in that to the Lord, and not, that's not why we're here. So, but what would be helpful to me, or helpful to my channel, is if you're not subscribed and you like this content, subscribe and interact with the video. And all that means is to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment, even if you're just saying, hi, hi from Missouri or wherever, just that shows the YouTube algorithm that people are interacting with my video, and it should be shown more. So we're really hopeful that 2026, with more consistency, we will, start to get back on that path of, normal view counts and continued growth. That's the hope. But in the meantime, we're just going to keep showing up and spending time with y'all. But we will see you soon.